Well, I'm a in the fire kind of person, so I'm already in the midst of it. It's growing around me. I have quite a few clients that are in all of those spaces that I mentioned, and they are consistently growing. Uh, I'm going to have to duplicate myself, which is one things that all companies ask of me. Can we just duplicate you? Now I'm experiencing that myself. I need to duplicate, and the processes are in place, so that's helpful. Yeah, it's actually just taking the right steps towards what's.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Rexhen, and today's guest is Benny Kennedy, a certified master sales trainer, leadership coach, and U.S. Navy veteran who spent nearly 2 decades helping sales professionals and business leaders unlock their full potential. As the founder of the Kennedy Group USA, Benny delivers what he calls results as a service coaching, blending cutting-edge sales training, leadership development, and performance psychology into systems that consistently drive measurable results and measurable growth. His frameworks, like the SMART task system and the ancient sales performance secrets, combine timeless principles of influence with modern high-performance strategies. And it's a pleasure for me to have Benny on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Benny.
Thank you very much. This is awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. It's an honor for us to have you on the show, and wanted to learn a little bit more about, when it comes to the coaching side of everything, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
It's a great starting question. It really does have to boil down to sports. You know, here in the United States, we call it football. I know it's American football mostly around the world, but it's where I got started really understanding how you can help people become better just by being around them and rallying people up with your energy. I did that as a player. And then once I became a coach myself, I started coaching children and seeing the changes that would happen in their regular everyday lives, hearing their parents talk about how, oh my goodness, all the things that you worked on the field is really translating into their daily life. They're cleaning their room, they're making their bed. I don't know what you're doing. And all I really was doing is just giving them the chance to be better and letting them know, celebrating their wins as they go along, that they are becoming better. And then once that happened, it was just a hook. And every time no matter what job I was in, I was always put in a position where I was either rallying the team, helping build the team, or coach the team. So here I am.
And so when it comes to your business right now, how long has it been since you've incorporated the coaching part of it inside of it too?
So I've been in sales for nearly 30 years. And the initial part of sales, especially when I got started, this was in the late 1990s, you were just given a book of numbers, a phone, and a pad of paper, and you were told to just go after it. And you weren't given any idea of really how you were interacting with people. You were just told, hurry up and find a person who's going to buy. And I really realized that in that niche, in that space, there was a lacking in coaching. And once I had a couple of mentors, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. These are the individuals. I got a chance to listen to their audio tapes, and I found out that being human is probably the best part of being a salesperson. And that's the one thing we don't tap into, that genuine conversation you have with people and learning about people, what makes them make decisions, and helping them along with those decisions really is the key part of coaching. And for the last 18 years, we just had an anniversary, just recently. 18 years has been the development process. And over the course of the last decade, we've seen a huge increase, not to mention the last 5 years of AI being introduced to the world, on just how important it is to be much more genuine and more human in our interactions.
Interesting, and I'd love to talk about AI too. So when it comes to when you started around 2007, 18 years from now, and basically been working with clients ever since. When it comes to you going through the coaching journey with them, what about it would you say you find most rewarding since you started doing this?
Oh my goodness. And it's probably going to sound strange. Another great question, by the way. I love watching people get out of their own way. And it's an interesting thing. We all go through it. We hit this thing we call as NASP deception. And it's a moment when you just realize, I really don't know what I'm doing here. And instead of reverting back to an old habit, I see them change and actually start to learn what they need to do to become that next version of themselves. And when this is uncoached, it's probably one of the most enjoyable moments because you see a person really find out that they can do it. You know, they don't necessarily need to ask permission of someone, or they don't need to wait for someone to give them anything. They naturally have it inside. And you see the light bulb, you know, you see you've seen the graphics where the light bulb comes off and they have a great idea. Well, that literally seems what happens when you see someone light up and go, I figured it out. And fortunately, I've been in positions where people don't go, well, I don't need you anymore. Goodbye. They usually say, what's next? I can't wait to get to this next journey of myself. And in itself is really a joy of being a coach.
So basically, you're always working towards another goal with the client if they decide to do so.
Sure. Yeah, there's always growth. You know, if we're not learning, we're dying. So if the moment that you start to evaluate yourself and become that next version, there's always a better version that you can become. And, you know, all throughout your entire life, we're doing that level up, regardless of whether we're conscious of it or not. Our subconscious is always keeping us safe. And at the same time, when we're introduced to new environments, we're naturally learning to adapt. If we consciously put effort toward, and we actually are coached to be able to navigate through these trying times or trials, we then become that next level. You know, that's when you, have you ever played the video game Super Mario Brothers, where you become bigger? That's naturally what's actually happening to you when you're coached in the right way.
Cool. And so how would you, that audience that is listening, that I mentioned earlier, it could be either coaches or the audience of the coaches we had on the show. How would you describe your ideal client profile if they happen to be listening? Is there a certain industry, certain demographic, or psychographic? Do they have some common goals? How would you describe them?
Yeah, and that's another. Yeah, you're full of the great questions. These are the good ones that people don't necessarily tap into. So my ideal client is one that's open to the idea of becoming. And that could be many things for many people. The industry, I used to focus on specific in manufacturing, within you know, metals and like some door frames, you know, building materials. Working in that space seemed to be where I was needed the most. And then I found that when I started working within you know, business organizations and other groups like CEO groups and roundtables and such, I found that everyone is going through an issue somewhere in their business where they could be coached. And the idea of my coaching doesn't necessarily focus on just sales, although sales is a huge component of where I believe business can. It's more on that. We were talking before we started recording is belief. And when people are their beliefs challenged, specifically when they're things that they grew up with, you can have that form a negative, what we call scotoma, or a blind spot in your vision. And no matter how much you work on trying to become, all you're going to do is continue to try. And you want to make sure you're attaining, and those actions are getting closer to your goal. So when you exercise what you believe in, and you focus on making sure that those beliefs are in alignment with what you are looking to be and become and change, and whatever your company is looking to be, and that is also understood by the team you're working with, this actually improves every bit of what you're doing by several, you know, I mean, it's been measured anywhere between 17 and 46% of an increase in performance. Performance meaning you're seeing your clients retained longer, your employees are staying longer, you have less, churn rate, you know, you're learning a little bit more about how your business runs more efficiently. And these things just start to happen as you're working consistently on becoming better. So, you know, all in about when you start to focus on these small little things, you know, Simon Sinek mentioned it in his book, you know, as far as what it takes to build your soft skills, you realize these soft skills are not actually very soft. They're pretty difficult. You're needing to really challenge yourself. You're also needing to take feedback honestly and removing the ego. I mean, these are all internal things the individual has to work on, which is why coaching is so important, because you don't necessarily see the things as you're moving forward. Consciously, we're hitting the target, and on the outside, we may not see through the peripherals some of the other things that may need to be taken into account. So that's where the coaching comes in.
And how, for them again, for that audience that's listening, how is the engagement that they have with you? Well, say when a client starts working with you, is there a certain program of a certain length? How is the engagement like? Is it like fully customized?
Yeah, and honest, that's it. It has to be customized to a point. Now, of course, there are blanket, remedies, so to speak. If someone says they need sales training, well, I would suggest that if they have not had any training at all, I have a program with NASP. You can use, it's a certified professional sales associate, and it teaches you all of the basics: cold calling, how to handle objections, how to create a script. How to follow through from your introduction all the way through the discovery into closing. And you actually have a certification that's international. So those are the things that I would put out as a blanket thing. Then we have others. Most of the people, and Victor Antonio would say not to use the word most, but you don't generalize people. But when I come across most of the people that I've seen, it's always one little internal deal, a habit, or some type of belief, like we were talking earlier, that just needs an adjustment. When we start to uncover that one little thing, and it could be something you were told when you were 6 that you've been holding on to since you were a child, we get into kind of a psychology session and discuss how we can just uncover that thing, maybe heal that issue, and move forward with something that's more positive, that's towards their ideal goal. A lot of when I'm meeting with individuals, they always have one issue that comes up, and then there's 2 or 3 that are anchoring that issue. And those are the 2 things that usually are worked on within 30 to 60 days. And it's a life-changing situation, because it's like a stone in your shoe. You get used to it after a while, and you start to adjust the way you walk. But if you remove the shoe, you feel so much relief. I mean, remove the rock, you feel so much relief. It's the same thing. We ignore the anchors that are holding the poor habit, and instead of just fixing the poor habit, you have to remove the anchors as well. And that's the one thing that I do focus on when we start to get into the coaching.
Cool. And so another question that comes to mind is, when thinking about the clients that you described and how you work with them, one question that mostly other coaches are going to find useful to know is, where do you find your clients? Is there a certain marketing channel that works very well for you? And this goes back to my research as well. What marketing channel do you seem to get most of your clients from?
Well, Rexhen, we found each other on LinkedIn, so that's exactly where I find most. When I engage, LinkedIn has come such a long way. I've been a part of the platform since its inception, and the full platform plus the free platform, all of it is beneficial if you use it correctly. And beyond that, it just stems from referrals. You can use all of the marketing channels. There's plenty of ways for you to be able to market yourself in this world, specifically in the coaching, because coaching is consistently growing. And it doesn't, in my view, benefit you any better than if you talk to your current clients and build your referral base, because you can't beat a referral because that's someone who's already been told you're good. And then you now can start off on a fresh ground. Most of the time, again, I use the word most, we when we're doing the cold calling or we're doing the cold outreach, we really do have to spend a lot of time getting to that rapport point where we can really get to work. And often we'll find ourselves, I see a lot of coaches that wind up falling into this pitfall, is you'll give them the certification, or you'll give them the training manual, or you'll give them the quick coaching call, but you're not actually getting to the core root of the issue that the person needs to address. And cold outreach is fine if you want to get to know someone. However, I have grown to move, especially with my sales team. We don't have scripts, we have bullet points, and then we have a clear idea and a belief in what our outcome is for that call. And then that's when you make the call. And it's all about outreach for learning. It's a discovery call until we hear the magic words from our client. Well, what else can we do? Where else can we go? What's next? When the interest is there, then we'll go into the actual pitch. But everything else is discovery.
Cool. So when it comes to LinkedIn specifically, you mentioned also cold outreach, which right now, are you doing as much as before or kind of like consistently on the same amount you've been doing it before? I want to dive a little bit deeper into the strategy of each of these that you're utilizing right now.
Well, for me now, it depends on the campaign. If we're going to do a blitz, so to speak, if we're going to do a 90-day, a 60-day blitz, even a 120-day blitz, we can incorporate the cold outreach. And that would be using lists, current lists, so customer lists, or inbound leads that are from landing pages that we'll put out. But the old days, I mean, when I say cold calling, and I say the old days, this is when you had the phone, the paper, and the list, and you just started calling. And the person had no idea who you were. They had no idea that you were calling. It was just a certain window of time the FAA gave you to be able to call without being considered a scammer or a solicitor, which was the dirty word in the days when I was growing up. You couldn't be a solicitor. And now the word salesperson is put into that frame, where we're more advisors than salespeople. We really are. Anybody who's in sales right now currently, especially in SaaS, which is the reason why I sell RaaS versus SaaS, because software as a service has come to a point. It's everyone know what the service is. Everyone has an idea of what they want, and they don't need anyone to really tell them. And pretty much all of the top brands offer the same thing. You're not seeing anything new. When you get results as a service, you really are focusing on the core thing. When I'm talking to Rexhen, I'm telling Rexhen, I have all these things, you have these problems, I'll put this thing with that problem, and now we're making a solution. Rather than just dumping my whole list of menu on your table and say, pick the first 3 that come to mind, and then we'll go from there. Definitely back to that thing you mentioned earlier about it being customized to a point. Yeah.
Cool. So where is it going? So it's been 18 years with the company. Do you have any specific goals that you're working towards? Anything you're looking forward to achieving?
Well, thank you for that, because honestly, it's been my head down for these last 18 years, and it was only because it's also in alignment with my wedding anniversary. And I was like, wow, my wife and I have been married for 18 years. And well, our company has been going for 18 years. Whoa, what's going on here? So it was actually just not thinking, just doing the work and focusing on what the clients need. There are opportunities for me to expand and grow. I've been given opportunities over the last few years specifically to do that. I'm very cautious when it comes to things. The fun part about being a coach is you get the chance to watch others make tremendous mistakes. And you can learn from their mistakes without actually having to go through them yourself. And this helps me be able to focus on the things that are going to be best for the company. Right now, we're working with veterans, specifically those who are transitioning out of the military into becoming a civilian again. Being a veteran myself, I know that process. We are working programs to offer for those. And we're developing an international presence. Through National Association of Sales Professionals, I've been able to talk to many people in Europe, India, get to talk to people in North Africa, Canada. It's getting out of the US and seeing how beneficial overall coaching can be globally, specifically in the high political climates that we're in today.
Interesting. So globally is something that you are kind of working towards to, or is it already kind of in play?
Well, I'm a in the fire kind of person, so I'm already in the midst of it. It's growing around me. I have quite a few clients that are in all of those spaces that I mentioned, and they are consistently growing. I'm going to have to duplicate myself, which is one of the things that all companies ask of me. Can we just duplicate you? Now I'm experiencing that myself. I need to duplicate. And the processes are in place, so that's helpful. It's actually just taking the right steps towards what makes sense for the company.
And what exactly does it mean to duplicate yourself? Just want to clarify that for anyone.
So liken it to when I have someone go through a program. So we have at NASP specifically, there's three main certifications, and there's an individual certification, leader certification, and there's a master certification. And when people go through that, they tend to, really showcase their true nature and talent. I need to find that. So when I'm working with a sales team and I get the bright eyes that show up and ready to rock, ready to go all the time, that part is something that I can't teach. The thing the energy that it takes you to have your attitude lifted to show up is something that's totally on your shoulders, as well as your effort. If you're going to bring in a minimum amount of effort, it's not going to necessarily benefit you, and it definitely won't benefit the company. So we need to see that effort increase. Those two measurements, if you have them at a high level, now I can step in as a coach and really implement a lot of the solid beliefs that I have that can help you grow your competency. And as you grow your competency, then that shows that's how you actually duplicate someone. If you have to have the attitude and the effort, if they're not willing to show up with the attitude and the effort, you can't raise their competence. So that's the thing that I look for. And once that is in place, we work together as long as we can, build as much as we can, and then hand the reins over.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And so throughout the years, it's been 18 years. So throughout these 18 years of running your business, what have been some investments that you feel really good about? Either you learned a lot or you got a good return from. And what have been some investments that you don't feel so good about, or you'd say you probably would prefer to have avoided them, if any?
Well, honestly, that's another great question because it has the same answer. The investments that I've made that have been poor when looking at hindsight, and the investments that actually did well, both gave me a lesson. And I learned a lot from it. The one that was poor, I'll start with, was investing in a startup that I was working with on a contract basis. Initial contract was for me to help build sales. We did build sales, however, it wasn't enough money. And then I found out that the company did need more cash flow. So after discussing it and talking back and forth, I actually invested in the company, and unbeknownst to myself, it was a poor investment because there were some things that I needed to uncover that were not discussed, and that came to bite me in the behind, and I wound up losing out on that one. However, it did teach me more about the process. When you're looking to invest in a company, you need to do your due diligence. You need to learn more about the other stakeholders, as well as any other past experiences that have happened prior. So, doing more due diligence, and I'm thankful for AI for this because I can do it a lot faster now, where I can find out more about a company and where it actually does sit before investing. The good one was investing in people. And when I took a chance on a sales team that was just kind of abandoned from a company that went under, the team had been working really well. And all they really needed was a leader. It was the thing that they were missing. So I took that chance, became their leader, even though I didn't know their industry, and started learning more about who they were and what they did. And they basically, in the process of teaching me their industry, they became stronger as a unit, and we were able to sell another product. I'm a manufacturer's representative also. So I have a lot of companies that I work with, and I happen to, in alignment with everything, found a company that needed a sales team, and it was like a plug and play. It all worked seamlessly. Everyone was happy. And I was able to exit that nicely. I was nice and clean, and the company still thrives today.
Cool. And actually you did mention, even for your company, having a sales team, right? That works for you. How, besides the sales team, how is the company structured in terms of like the team?
We are at the Kennedy Group are a very small group. It's my wife and I, and I've got three other reps that I work with. Two that are, well, actually I have five, but three that work with me directly, and then two others that are outside. And we check in every once in a while and talk with each other, but it's more of a community rather than, or a community organization rather than being a company. I've never run it like a job, and everyone has kind of been, open door. They've come and gone. No one has a schedule. Everyone just has projects to work on, and we put the time towards the projects. Currently, as far as how revenue runs, that's just falls on my shoulder. And my wife does a lot of, she's my research director. So she handles all the research for the companies, and she also does more of the creative side. So it's a small, tight unit. I'm also a Six Sigma green belt. So I focus on the Six Sigma portion of making sure, if you're not familiar with Six Sigma, it's just a statistical measurement of keeping things efficient. And we test again over and over again on all our systems. Like to see if I can break the system, and then fix where the repairs are needed, and just keep pushing forward. But that's how our company basically is structured. Pretty simple.
Interesting. And so, where do you see the challenges that, like, in terms of like even thinking about you further growing or going out globally, what is a challenge that kind of like you're working on next to solve?
It's funny. It's actually, to go back to where I was describing how the company runs, it's because it's such a hybrid. It's the structure portion that is a challenge for me, making sure that the company is viewed in other businesses, especially when I'm doing B2B work. I had one young lady, she was very anxious about our that we were getting ready to work on, and we had been working on it for weeks already. And she took a second and said, "Benny, is it just you? Or is there somebody else involved with this as well?" I said, "I have a team. If you want, we can get everybody on the call." And she's like, "Yeah, I you." It's just, what can we see more people? And that's sometimes the psychology of it. If you don't see 20 people working on a site, you wonder if anybody's really doing the work. But honestly, there's only one or two people really working. The rest of the people are just kind of hanging out. So that's an efficiency thing. So when you used to build sales teams, I have the COO give me a target of, we need to hire 20 people by this X time. And then I would always witness us hire all these people, and then only wind up with a half a dozen, maybe less, that would stay within the 30 days. And I know it's a process. It's a human resources process to get the right people. But my challenge the solution to that, for that challenge, is why not screen them ahead of time? Not unlike we screen our clients, we should screen the employees as well. Get them screened all the way to the point of before onboarding. That way, when you're onboarding someone, they are someone who's going to stay. When we're spending all this money, and the cost of acquisition for a client is less than it is to acquire your employees. So, taking that time to really know who you're hiring and offering that valuable position for them to be a part of really is, that's the team. And it becomes less. You wind up having less on the team than you would.
And when you say hiring for a client, is basically you hire people in your team and then you outsource them to your clients? How does that work? Or are you actually just doing the hiring for them externally?
It's hybrid of both, because I have a client right now who's now a partner, and he does virtual assistants. So I now have an opportunity that, with our partnership, that those who I want to hire on to do a project can now be hired on as a virtual assistant, and we can use that as a resource to even, for our clients who need to hire. So it's an interesting process. Again, the systems are in place. It's really just plugging in the right people, and that's why I don't know if you ever read the book Top Grading, but it's a fantastic model on how you hire, and you're looking for A people. And, there's a need for A people, B people, and C people. And they fall in line just how they're graded. A people being your top sellers, the guys who don't necessarily need any management. B people kind of need some oversight, but they get the job done. And C people need your attention at all times. Getting less C people and more A people really does help that balance. And then you start to be able to see A people as you're hiring. And that's pretty much the changer right there. When you can really hire all A-list people and coach your B people up to be A people, you really have a nonstop.
And usually the people that you're hiring, are they, you would say, salespeople too?
It's funny. We're getting more just people that have never been in sales, but they've been on the outside. A lot of sales engineers. Definitely a lot of people who work on the operations side that are kind of peeking behind the curtain going, what are those sales guys always celebrating over there? And they're wanting to get a part of the game. The funny part is those who are really in sales from the beginning, the core people that are in sales, they don't necessarily see the glamour because they're the ones on the calls. They're getting yelled at. They're getting told no. They're getting all of that negative feedback. But the general nature of what they say, a born to sell type person, they usually have a thicker skin than most people, and they don't get affected by the outside world. They're really self-motivated and internally driven. So that type of person doesn't get swayed and pushed like an analytical person would, who hears all of that negative stuff and then they take it home. They don't feel well when they get up in the morning. They don't want to work. It really draws you down. So that element needs to be taught out of you in order to move into sales. So I've hired many people that want to be in sales for the money mainly. But they also see it as an opportunity to do something exciting. And then pull that part out where you stop worrying about the external world and you have an internal motivation and you have a mindset that fits your desire to become whatever you're looking to be, then it's an open canvas, blank canvas, and we can just make anything we want out of it.
So basically the challenge is structuring up or down whenever you need to, right?
That's a good way to look at it for sure.
Cool.
And down is a lot harder than you think. Structuring down is a lot harder than you think.
And so what advice, and this is the final question, what advice would you give to other coaches, just like yourself, who are looking to scale their impact? Remember,
we're people. Human beings have many different facets about us. We have different reasons why we do things, and emotion is a driver of everything. If we have if we have a superior emotional intelligence, if we consistently work on making sure we're aware of the other person that we're communicating with, that the group has a collective consciousness, those things really do add to the essence of coaching. And then, really be genuine. You don't have to know everything as a coach. You definitely don't need to have all the answers, but being present and to the other individual, and listening to the problem, especially if you have multiple stakeholders. It may not just be your point of contact. You might need to listen to the COO or the CFO and pay attention more than most others. So that's what I would say, for who are coaching out there, be human. But always remember to be human.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Benny. And thank you so much for coming to our podcast today. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn, look up Benny Kennedy. They will come to your profile. They can also go into the kennedygroup.us, which is the website. Is there any other way that we could have people reach out to you?
Oh, I'm on all social media. So if there's a branch of social media out there that you're on, if you search Benny Lee Kennedy or Sales Power, you probably will find me. You can also email me, which I'm not afraid to have that email out, bkennedy@thekennedygroup.us. Open door policy, would love to talk.
Thank you, Benny.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.